is a great achievement. And let me take a guess. You're still not tired of winning. Winning is such a great feeling. Isn't it a great feeling? Winning. A great feeling. Nothing like winning. Gotta win.
Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. I am not a doctor, but I play one on TV. I want to wish you all a happy and safe Memorial Day as you relax and as we remember and reflect on all of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for us to be able to speak our mind a little bit. And today I would like to speak my mind with you on a few things. I'm starting you off on my Twitter page. And I want to let you know that I've changed my Twitter handle. Now, it shouldn't affect any of you who are already with me on Twitter, but it is simply IPOT1776. That's IPOT, In Pursuit of Truth, 1776. So hopefully that'll be easier for some of you to find me. But please join me over here, especially as Q is not posting so much now. I am a lot more active on Twitter and would like to be increasingly so with you. So please come engage with me on Twitter. Won't you please join me on the Twitter? Okay, so the MAGA movement. It's taken the nation by storm. It's like the electric slide. It's like the McDLT. It's like the Icky Shuffle. It's like Crystal Pepsi. No, it's not like Crystal Pepsi, but it's like the other things. I want to take you over here to truthfeednews.com. Trump already secured release of 17 American hostages, and more are coming. Our America First president is the true art of the deal. No one negotiates better than he does, and no one commands the type of respect that Trump does. This is why, unlike failed former President Obama, President Trump has a successful foreign policy and has already secured the release of 17 American hostages, and more are coming. President Donald Trump has secured the release of 17 Americans who were held as hostages in foreign countries during his first year in office. The latest was Joshua Holt, who was imprisoned in Venezuela in 2016 after traveling there to meet a woman he had met online. Not always the smartest thing, Josh. Holt came back to the United States in good health on May 26, spotlighting President Trump's excellent negotiating skills on the world stage. So we've had 17 prisoners released during the Trump administration, Trump told reporters on May 26 as he welcomed Holt in the White House. We've had 17 released, and we're very proud of that record. Very proud. And we have others coming. President Trump said his team is currently negotiating other hostage releases, so we should expect more good news. We're in the midst of some very big negotiations to get others out, he said. Joshua Holt's release from Venezuela comes 2 weeks after the Trump administration successfully negotiated the release of 3 Korean Americans who had been imprisoned in North Korea. As BizPac Review previously reported, President Trump, First Lady Melania Trump, and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo met the 3 free Korean Americans as they stepped onto U.S. soil at 3 a.m. President Trump also secured the release of American student Otto Warmbier in June 2017. Unfortunately, Warmbier died just days after he was returned to the United States in failing health after apparently having been tortured. Otto was just 22 years old. He spent 18 months in a North Korean prison for allegedly trying to take a poster from a Pyongyang hotel. When Otto returned to the United States, he was unconscious and brain damaged. Otto's parents thanked President Trump profusely for his tireless efforts to bring their son home and slammed Barack Obama for barely lifting a finger to intervene on their son's behalf. Otto's father said the Obama administration even told him and his wife to not publicly discuss their son's brutal imprisonment so as to not offend North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. We've been forced to be quiet, Fred Warmbier said. Do I think the past administration could have done more? I think the results speak for themselves. Instead of commending Trump for his efforts, the leftist American media crowed that Otto deserved to be tortured in North Korea because he was a privileged white male. Since Otto's tragic death, President Trump has made securing the release of American hostages a top priority. The United States condemns hostage takers and nations that detain our citizens without just cause or due process, he said. My administration is greatly increasing efforts to bring home all Americans unjustly detained abroad. We will leave no lawful tool, partnership, or recovery option off the table. President Trump's No American Left Behind approach is a stark contrast to Barack Obama, whom none of our enemies feared as they feared Trump. When Obama secured the release of U.S. Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl in 2015, he exchanged 5 top Taliban leaders in the swap. In January 2016, Iran released 4 Iranian Americans from jail after the Obama administration delivered a ransom of $400 million in cash. That's taxpayer money. In contrast, President Trump didn't give anything in return for the release of any American hostages released under his watch. Instead of commending Trump for his work, liberals have instead mocked and belittled his efforts. In November 2017, President Trump personally intervened on behalf of 3 UCLA basketball players who were arrested for shoplifting in China. Also, not smart. This incident does not count as a hostage release situation since they were released immediately thanks to Trump. Shoplifting is a serious offense in China, which has a long history of human rights abuses, so the UCLA students could easily have rotted in jail for years had President Trump not intervened. LeVar Ball, the father of one of the students who was released thanks to Trump, responded by saying he felt no need to thank President Trump. Did he go visit them in jail? Ball asked. If you went to visit them in jail, then I would say thank you. Ungrateful dad, LeVar Ball fires back at Trump. Did he go visit them in jail? Well, congratulations to you, Mr. Joshua Holt, and welcome back to the United States. Hope you are happy and healthy this Memorial Day. Speaking of health, President Bush rushed to the hospital. This is off the True Pundit, May 27th. President George H.W. Bush was taken to Southern Maine Healthcare today after experiencing low blood pressure and fatigue. He will likely remain there for a few days for observation. The former president is awake and alert and not in any discomfort, per his spokesman. Following his wife's funeral, Bush, 93, was admitted to Houston Methodist Hospital for blood poisoning known as sepsis. He was discharged in early May after a 2-week stay. Today, he was admitted again, his spokesman said. Okay, so, former President Bush not feeling so well. All right. Interesting timing considering his wife just passed away recently. And of course, we've got No Name McCain. He's not feeling so well either. And we know Miss Clinton, she's not feeling so well. Nobody's feeling well. So whatever it is, don't drink the water. Morgan Freeman's not feeling so well either. This is also off the True Pundit. Morgan Freeman had an affair with step-granddaughter. Then she was murdered. Before she was murdered, Morgan Freeman's step-granddaughter told her boyfriend turned killer that the actor had been secretly sleeping with her, confirming years-old claims about the illicit affair, according to defense lawyers. Adina Hines disclosed to Lamar Davenport and others that her grandfather engaged in a sexually inappropriate relationship with her. Davenport's lawyer, Beth Unger, claimed in court Friday. His defense team didn't go into further detail, but they provided testimony from a therapist who claimed that Davenport admitted to often arguing with Hines about infidelity, with each accusing the other of being unfaithful. Lamar admitted to me that they had a violent relationship, said Dr. Jeremy Colley. Their disagreements could be emotionally intense. Rumors about Freeman's alleged affair with Hines have swirled since 2009, which is when it was first reported by the National Enquirer. Gossip sites later claimed that the relationship was serious and that the two were even planning on tying the knot. Okay, so that's thoroughly creepy right there. Now, look, Morgan Freeman hasn't been charged with anything, but he has been accused of quite a few things as of late, and it doesn't seem to look very good for him. Now, again, like I say, in his defense, no formal charges, but definitely some severe accusations, and Morgan Freeman has simply come out and just kind of given this sort of blanket apology. So it remains to be seen what will happen. But I am sure that the takedown of Harvey Weinstein is going to lead to more than likely even bigger names that are going to be very surprising. Now, I'm not saying Morgan Freeman is necessarily one of them, but this story did happen, and we will have to see how it plays out. Now, in other creepy news, Chelsea Manning tweets suicide note and picture of herself on ledge of a tall building. This is from the Gateway Pundit. Chelsea Manning tweeted a suicide note and a picture of herself standing on the edge of a tall building on Sunday night. Manning, a Democratic senatorial candidate, posted what appeared to be a suicide note on Twitter around 8:30 p.m. on Sunday. Chelsea tweeted, "I'm sorry, I tried. I'm sorry I let you all down. I'm not really cut out for this world. I tried adapting to this world out here, but I failed you. I couldn't do this anymore. I can take people I don't know hating me, but not my own friends. I tried, and I'm sorry about my failure." And that is her tweet there. Now, this is obviously, and there's the disturbing picture right there. And of course, obviously, her friends panicked a little bit. And then we got this tweet here saying, "Chelsea is safe. She is on the phone with friends. Thanks everyone for your concern, and please give her some space." Chelsea Manning filed to run for a Senate seat in the state of Maryland in January. Private First Class Bradley, Chelsea Manning stole 251,000 State Department documents, many of them secret international embassy reports. Manning smuggled the security documents out on a CD labeled Lady Gaga. Manning was bitter after a breakup with his boyfriend. Manning smuggled the information out of a secure facility on a CD. In April 2014, a Kansas judge allowed Manning to change his name to Chelsea. Okay, so you guys probably all remember this story. Obama commuted Chelsea Manning's sentence in January 2017 before he left office, and she left prison in 2017. So there was a lot of people that were pretty outraged by this story, and clearly it looks like this Chelsea Manning is paying the price for some of her actions, and is going to have to deal with that. But we never wish these kind of things on anybody. But it seems that more and more panic from all these these no good doers, no good deed doers. And speaking of no good deed doers, how about Antifa threatens to destroy Berlin to make it pay for allowing right-wing protests. This is off of thevoiceofeurope.com. On May 27th, the Alternative for Germany, AfD in Berlin, will organize a protest called Future Germany. Left-wing extremists, on the other hand, are mobilizing and are publicly threatening to destroy the city, Austria's Wochenblick reports. The approved demonstration of AfD politician Guido Rehl under the motto Day of Reckoning with Irresponsible German Politics is to start at the Berlin Washington Platz in front of the main station, and from there on towards the government district. The left-wing scene now calls during a violent video to attack police vehicles with Molotov cocktails and devastate Berlin stores. In the video, which is distributed on the relevant extremist site, indiemedia.org, it says, among other things, if Berlin allows the demo of the AfD editorial note, it must pay for it. The once indiemedia.org page, Linksunten, has already been banned by the German Ministry of the Interior. On the site, there are also other links of a left-wing anti-fascist movement. It clearly says chaos instead of AfD. In addition to a roadmap of the planned AfD protests, there is also a construction manual for high-pressure paint sprayers made from fire extinguishers. So, Antifa, keeping it classy, as always, because you're so fascist that I'm going to burn your buildings down. Because you're so fascist, I'm going to call you a racist. Because you're so fascist, I'm going to break stuff and act irresponsible. The deep state is definitely panicking right now. And we knew this was coming. Now I want to take you back to a Q post, 14:15. And let's see, it's right. Yeah. And you remember this is when May 19th, when Q accidentally, if you will, released the password Now Comes the Pain in 23. So could this be 23 days? And is the deep state realizing that these 23 days are just about up? And that's going to be around June 11th. And let me also take you a little bit further back just to add on to this theory. Post 1355, I believe it is. Yes, it is, right here. Q says on May 13th, watch what happens. And then we have got negative 30 in kill brackets. So that would be 30 days out. Will we be talking about June 11th? Now we know June 12th, of course, is the proposed summit with North Korea. And hopefully that all goes off without a hitch. But could something big be happening in store just before the summit? Could this be a release of some information? Could we be finding lots of things out on June 11th? I tend to think there's going to be another flood right before this summit, and it only makes sense as there's been tons of criticism from the anti-Trump side, if you will, regarding this summit, and yet President Trump keeps making headway towards this peace and these steps towards unifying Korea. Now, whether or not they unify or not, I don't know. But if we can at least get in the talks with denuclearizing them, it's a bigger deal than where we were last year. And clearly that's something that the deep state is terrified of. So they're acting out in many ways. Speaking of poor behavior and acting out, let's take you over to Variety.com. Valve criticized over appalling school shooting game on Steam. 1 week after a student shot and killed 10 people in Santa Fe, Texas, digital video game storefront Steam and publisher Valve are being criticized for an upcoming game that lets the player kill civilians and cops in a school environment. Awesome idea. Active Shooter comes out on June 6th and calls itself a dynamic SWAT simulator where the player can either be a SWAT team member or the shooter. Developer Revive Games also plans to release a civilian survival mode where the player takes on the role of a civilian during a shooting. A disclaimer on the game's Steam page reads, "Please do not take any of this seriously. This is only meant to be the simulation and nothing else. If you feel like hurting someone or people around you, please seek help from local psychiatrists or dial 911. Thank you." Infratrust, an anti-gun violence organization, recently told the BBC the game is in very bad taste. There have been 22 school shootings in the U.S. since the beginning of this year, a spokesperson said. It's horrendous. Why would anyone think this is a good idea to market something violent like that and be completely insensitive to the deaths of so many children? We're appalled that the game is being marketed. Revived Games addressed the issue in a Steam post on Thursday, saying, Active Shooter doesn't promote violence, especially mass shootings. While I can see people's anger and why this might be a bad idea for the game, I still feel like this topic should be left alone, they said, while pointing out that Valve allows other infamously violent games on its storefront like Hatred, Postal, and Carmageddon. Right now, the Steam Direct program allows anyone to publish a video game on the platform for a $100 fee, but it does have some guidelines. Hate speech is forbidden, along with pornography and adult content that's not appropriately labeled. Valve recently cracked down on certain sexualized visual novels, warning developers it would pull the games from Steam if the content wasn't removed. Valve also forbids content that's patently offensive or intended to shock or disgust viewers. Active Shooter seems to fall under that category, yet it remains on the store at this time. Due to the high amount of criticism the games received, Revived Games added it will likely remove the shooter's role from the game before launch unless it can be kept as it is right now. Variety contacted Valve about this story and what it plans to do with Active Shooter, but it did not immediately respond. Oh, wow. So, Revived Games, not maybe the smartest timing. Look, this is sort of that conundrum that we fall into when it comes to civil liberties. People are allowed to kind of create what they want. But at the same time, this is clearly in poor taste. Active Shooter, I mean, no wonder we've got kids wanting to shoot up schools. This is what they get to play at home. And it seems to get worse and worse. What I find very ironic about this article is that it's totally okay for games like Hatred, Postal, and Carmageddon. But then they talk about hate speech. So it's cool to have hatred, just no hate speech. And it's cool to go Postal and have Carmageddon and be an active shooter, but just don't be offensive. Be polite. And hey kids, if you really want to be polite, try putting Reparations Happy Hour on your calendar today. This is off of Fox News. Reparations Happy Hour invites white people to pay for drinks. That sounds freaking awesome. On Monday night, a bar in Portland, Oregon hosted people of color and gave them $10 as they arrived, a symbolic gift funded primarily by white people who were asked not to attend the Reparations Happy Hour. Whoa, that sounds logical to me. A local activist group, Brown Hope, wanted the event to be a space for people of color in a mostly white city to meet, organize, discuss public policy, and potentially plan various actions. The notion of full-scale reparations sought by some as compensation for the horrors of slavery, Jim Crow, and the large wealth gap between white and black U.S. households was supported by 58% of black people and 46% of Hispanic people in a 2016 poll. All right. So, look. Sorry about the whole 400 years thing. But how about a mojito and a couple of shots of Jaeger? I'm not even black and I'm offended by that. And the fact that white people can't even go to the Reparations Happy Hour kind of seems to me to be a little counterproductive to the whole reparations thing, don't you think, social justice warriors? You guys got it all figured out. All right, well, let's look at these warriors. Cameron Whitten, the 27-year-old activist who organized the event, said that attendees felt seen and valued by the Portland event, but noted there are much larger goals. We're creating a platform to make sure our leadership is being seen and honored, Whitten told Blavity. This isn't just, we're just here to socialize. We're here to do the work. In a place like Portland, where our community is so fractured, our first step is to bring us back together, and then from there, organize and mobilize to create policies to create justice in our communities. All right, so there's our social justice warriors right there. And as you can see by the picture, the house is rocking, so don't bother knocking. It is standing room only, tore up from the floor up. This is a barn burner right here, folks. Reparations Happy Hour. Bring $10. Don't bring yourself. Don't bring any friends. Just bring $10. Meanwhile, the Native American's sitting in the corner trying to get a Bud Light. Let's talk for a quick sec about Tommy Robinson. This is off the Blaze, May 27th. Hundreds of demonstrators protest arrest of right-wing activist Tommy Robinson. Hundreds of demonstrators in London descended on the Whitehall government office area Saturday to protest the arrest of right-wing activist and journalist Tommy Robinson. Part of the area was closed to traffic while the group gathered outside Downing Street on Saturday afternoon, The Independent reported. Protesters were seen carrying signs and waving flags, including ones that said "Free Tommy." Some protesters got into minor scuffles with police, but no arrests or injuries were reported. What did Robinson do? Robinson was arrested and jailed Friday after he reportedly streamed live on Facebook as alleged members of an Islamic child sex grooming gang entered a courtroom building for their trial. Further details about Robinson's status were not known as a judge ordered media to not report on the incident, according to published reports. Britain is dealing with a series of child sex scandals involving gangs led predominantly by Islamic men. What were the charges? Robinson is the former head of the English Defence League and is a longtime critic of Islam and Islamic migration. He was arrested by police outside the Leeds Crown Court for allegedly breaching the peace and incitement, The Independent reported. According to published reports, many as 7 police officers surrounded him, and Robinson was heard saying, "This is ridiculous. I haven't said a word. I've done nothing. This isn't contempt of court. You were allowed to do this, aren't you?" Robinson is under a suspended sentence for committing contempt of court over a gang rape case heard in Canterbury last year, according to The Independent. Judge Heather Norton sentenced him to 3 months last year, but suspended it on the condition that he not commit further offenses. A contempt of court charge can involve speeches or publications deemed to create a substantial risk that the course of justice in the proceedings in question will be seriously impeded or prejudiced, according to The Independent. Tommy has been speaking out against this sort of anti-Islamic migration stance for a long time, and particularly these child sex grooming gangs, I think, is really more his focus. Now, look, whether or not you like Tommy Robinson, or whether you even know Tommy Robinson, I think is not nearly as relevant as to the bigger story here, which is the fact that the British press is not able to report on him. Now, Tommy was arrested and then sentenced 48 hours later, which is very strange to me. It seems to me that this is clearly a move by the Justice Department out there to be able to sort of put him away and kind of deal with other things while Tommy can be sort of silenced. And this is a dangerous precedent, not just legally, but for what it could mean for Tommy's safety, as he is already on a 13-month suspended sentence. It seems likely that he could maybe be serving that sentence out plus some. And it's not going to bode well for him in there, considering that a lot of these people that are in these prisons are the very people that Tommy is speaking against. And we've already seen that evidenced. This is a man whose life is already in danger as it is. So now, as far as the legalities go, it remains to be seen. It seems to me if he was reporting outside of the courtroom, there shouldn't be any sort of problem with that. Now, if he's reporting inside the courtroom, that might be a different story, but it didn't seem like that was the case in this particular instance. We did see the video of him being taken away. And, so we'll have to see how this kind of plays out. But I do think it's important. It's important for us as Americans and really around the world to be following what's going on with Tommy Robinson, because the UK is definitely undergoing what seems to me to be a bit of a renovation now. I think people are starting to get fed up with the borders kind of collapsing. Migration is clearly taking a toll in violence out there, whether it be gun violence, knife violence, rape. It's all on the rise. People in the UK are fed up. I think that they're inspired by the Great Awakening, whether it be the Q movement, the Trump movement, whatever you want to call it. I think there's a lot of things going on in the USA that have inspired the British, and rightfully so. And I think it's important for us to support them in their efforts to take back their country, to take back their borders. And, do what's right. Do you want to see a loudmouth right-wing guy go to prison and possibly be killed? Or would you like to see some of these Islamic sex cult group gangs, whatever you want to call them, kind of run rampant and do whatever they like? And now it is time for the UK to decide what it is that they want. I don't know the legalities over there. I don't know what it is that the people can do. I don't really know what it is that we can do over here in the United States, but I do think it's important to talk about this story, as the British press seems to be completely banned from being able to talk about this situation. So we'll do it over here. So my message to Tommy Robinson, stay safe, Godspeed, and well wishes to all of my UK listeners. If you've got any information that you would like to share with me on Tommy Robinson, feel free to email me. My email address is always in the description below. So that's all I got to say about Tommy Robinson. God bless Tommy Robinson. Well, those are some of your headlines for today, crazy as they may be. But in the spirit of Memorial Day, I would like to share with you just a little story, just a little reminder of why we hold our freedoms and civil liberties so dearly. That many have sacrificed their lives for our ability to be able to discuss freely and talk about the things that are important to us. Those same liberties that are under attack right now, a la Tommy Robinson, if you will, and why those liberties are so important. On Memorial Day, we remember and memorialize those heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice for this country. It is fitting that we gather on this day to recognize those who gave so much for this great nation. These holidays are a chance to visit a gravesite and to remember loved ones. They are more than just a day off of work or an extended weekend to barbecue and watch the Indianapolis 500 race. But what's been missing? For spouses and children and the families of the countless POW and MIA, there is no cemetery to visit, no gravestone to place flowers upon, no tangible recognition that a beloved family member walked this earth ready, willing, and able to fight for peace and freedom. For my mother, some wonderful, treasured memories and a handful of aging photographs. For me, a few stories of my father, a brave and captivating young man who wanted to fight the great evil in Europe so badly that he lied about his age and skipped off to Canada to enlist in the Canadian Army. His mother raced to Toronto and dragged her son back to the States forthwith. He waited impatiently until he was old enough to enlist in the U.S. Army. Around this time, he met my mother. As soon as he was old enough, my father volunteered for the Airborne, a fairly new concept at the time. He was assigned to the 17th Airborne Division and shipped off to England in August 1944. On Christmas Day, 1944, the division was flown under cover of night to Reims, France, and promptly trucked to the vicinity of Bastogne, Belgium. My mother mailed the announcement of my birth, postmarked December 16, 1944. The announcement was returned bearing a note dated March 13, 1945, missing in action, January 8, 1945. My father never received it. Howard Miles McLaughlin, missing in action, was ever present as a near mythical figure in my mind. He never carried the affectionate term Dad because he never seemed real to me. He was a name in history and a few photographs. For years I scoured the libraries and bookstores to learn the history of the 17th Airborne, but I found very little information. The division was disbanded at the end of the war. Most of the remaining troopers were reassigned to the 82nd Airborne Division. Like searching for a needle in a haystack, I set out to find my father or someone who had known him. Thanks to the internet, I was able to make contact with the 17th Airborne Division Association and attended the annual reunion. I met countless troopers who did not know my father, but they all encouraged me to keep searching. Armed with an aging 5x7 picture of my father, with 3 other paratroopers, I set out to try and locate the other men in the photo. One of them is Marty Schlocker. Marty recounted with considerable difficulty and emotion that he and my father had been good friends and was with him in the Battle of Dead Man's Ridge at Monty along the Flemish-Bastogne Highway in Belgium. They and 20 or 30 other men were overrun by a German tank battalion. He told me my father was mortally wounded. Marty was taken POW and remained so until liberated by U.S. troops in April 1945. He never saw my father again. That little story was written by my father in regards to his father, Mr. Howard Miles McLaughlin. Godspeed, Patriot. I wish you a happy, safe, and most importantly, free Memorial Day. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. YouTube does not like the special kind of relationship that you and I got. It's like a friends with benefits kind of relationship, don't you think? And they want to keep us apart. So when they unclick you, please click again. And as always, this is Sir Patrick Mack with In Pursuit of Truth. And until next time, stay free.